Hello everybody, my name's Jackie Wilson, one of the co-founders of Positively Empowered Kids. This week is Mental Health Awareness Week with the theme of kindness, and I'm joined today by an amazing man who I've got to know a little bit over the past couple of years. Now, Nick Haines is a British creative thinker. This is his description. He's an international speaker, he's an author, he's a teacher of Chinese energetics, which is where I've met him from. I've seen Nick speak a couple of times every year. It's usually January time when I get to meet Nick, because we're all so busy. But he talks wondrously about the year ahead and what to kind of be aware of, which is so fascinating. He's also the creator of the Vitality Test and a co-founder of the 5 Institute. There's so much I could talk to Nick about. But he's also a kindness ambassador, the name he's given to himself, which he's going to tell us more about, and his take on kindness, with it being Kindness Week. So, hi, Nick.
Oh, hi, Jackie. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever had such a wonderful introduction as that. I need you to have be my official introducer.
Well, thank you. So tell us more about being a kindness ambassador, a little bit about the work you do. So I know you're very passionate about kindness anyway, and the potential of people. So love to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, well, it stems from being a really kind of troubled teenager, having lots and lots of anxiety, panic attacks, and different things. And it was really exploring the nature of, I'd also been fostered when I was about 5 years old. I moved around different families and I experienced tremendous kindness. But what I wasn't necessarily experiencing was self-kindness. I was really, really hard on myself. So as I've kind of gone through life and had my different practices, was an acupuncturist for 35 years. So one of the things I really was exploring was kindness and what it really means in its full extent in the world. And so when we moved into the 5 Institute and taking some of my information, some of my work out into the world, the central theme we wanted to build the 5 Institute was kindness, but particularly about getting kindness in balance and getting it right. So we have something at the 5 Institute called your kind set. So it's like your mindset, except it's about kindness. And it's just based around 3 really, really simple questions. When you enter a situation, you ask, is this kind to me? Is this kind to others? And is this kind to the planet? Because one of my challenges with the kindness movement, and when people think about kindness, is we tend to have it in a box that it means being kind to other people. So we have all there's all these random acts of kindness and doing this, and look at this is a beautiful example of kindness. But actually, it's often very unbalanced kindness. And what then happens is the person either overstretches themselves or they don't build their internal self-kindness at the same time as their external kindness. And then what happens is we start to feel a fraud. We start to feel a bit of I'm perhaps not a very kind person, because there's a little bit of our back of our mind that's saying you're not kind. And that's actually because you're not being kind to yourself. So that's one thing. And the other one is we tend to be kind to what we notice and less kind towards what we take for granted. So the planet, we kind of in a way don't notice it until it goes horribly wrong, and then we really notice it and we take it for granted. So the kind to the planet, again, has to be a conscious action. And we take ourselves for granted, and again, we're not. So the big thing at the 5 Institute is trying to get this balance right: kind to us, kind to others, and kind to the planet. It's a kind set. That's what we're trying to explore and develop.
Yeah, I know and it's so great. I love the whole concept of the kind set. You know, I'm all about mindset as well. And I think that kind set is great. I think one of the problems we have as a society and as a whole is we don't value ourselves enough to see the importance of giving ourselves kindness and being kind to what we're doing. I see that in so many people that I work with, children, adults, parents. They really don't think that they're important enough. You know, as a parent, we're always giving to our children and, you know, being as kind as we can, but we forget about ourselves. And I think it's really crucial that we get that right so that we can genuinely give kindness to others, and we're replenishing ourselves as well.
Mm. Well, I think there's a couple of, that's a great question, observation. I think you're absolutely right. One of the things that really sits at the heart of this is our self-worth, our self-value, and the relationship we have with ourselves. And there are a couple of real kind of key points within that. And the first one of the challenges to have a really good sense of self-esteem and self-worth and feel confidence and stuff like that is actually what we do to earlier versions of ourselves. So one of the things that happens is me in the here and the now. I'm a smart aleck. We use that word. Okay, I'm a smart aleck because I know things that a previous version of me doesn't know. So I'm a smart aleck. But what I can do, what we often do, is that we'll go back to a previous version of us and we'll beat them up. Oh God, how could I be so stupid? Why on earth did I do that? What's wrong with me? That's the only reason you know that it was silly is because in the here and the now you got new information. At the time, you didn't know that someone was going to open the door the other way and you'd be holding a glass and it'd go smashing all over the world. Everyone said, why are you so stupid? Or you're so clumsy. I'd go, oh, why was I? You didn't know someone was going to open the door the other way. So one of the things that we have at the Fire Institute is you have to have a very good relationship with earlier versions of yourself. So you can go back and you can say, oh, what did I learn from this? And what was the experience? What was it about? And you can have a curious, friendly relationship with earlier versions of yourself rather than going back and say, oh God, I was so stupid. Why did I? Because otherwise it's a bit like going back to when you were first born and you were in nappies and you would say, oh God, how embarrassing. There I was. I used to just poo in public. How could I do that? And I used to just sit there and just wee and then I'd fart. Oh my God, how could I be? We don't do that, but we do it. As soon as we become conscious, we go back to earlier versions and we beat ourselves up. Now, the challenge with that is us in the here and the now, the foundation of who we are is built on our earlier versions of ourselves. So if you're constantly undermining, beating up, being unkind to earlier versions of yourself, then what happens is you in the here and now get less and less confident, less and less assured, because you're just destroying your basis. And then it's even worse. The bit that's even worse than that is that if you look at time, time exists altogether, doesn't it? Our unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between the past and the future. So it all exists together, and all the clever scientists explain it far better than me. But what happens in the here and the now, if you beat up earlier versions of yourself, that means that future versions of you will be coming and beating you up. So what then happens if you think, oh God, I'm really worried about making a mistake? Well, you should be worried. Because if you make a mistake, and a later version of you is going to come and beat you up, because that's the deal. That's the deal. That's how it fundamentally works. So we can get really paralyzed about making mistakes and doing things and become really anxious. And that was some of my anxiety, is I was really worried. I was worried that as a 5-year-old, I'd been moved into different families because I wasn't valuable or I'd done something wrong. And then as a teenager, I just got more and more worried that I was doing something wrong. And every time I thought I did, I'd beat myself up and off it went, and it just carried on. So that's one side to it. The other side to it is, which I'll give a solution to. The other side to it is that our unconscious mind and our imagination will answer any question that it's given. That's their job. They just answer questions, and they don't have any concern as to how that will make you feel. So if you go, oh God, why am I so stupid? Your unconscious mind will go, I've got some information about that, and it will pull stuff out from a drawer and tell you why you're so stupid. And then a little bit later you'll think, oh, I'm feeling really rubbish. What's wrong with me? I'll tell you what's wrong with you. And it comes out. So the very nature that we ask these questions, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why am I struggling? Oh my goodness. Your unconscious mind will just pull out information and tell you exactly what's wrong with you. It doesn't flip it around and say, you're not, you're wonderful. It just tells you what's wrong with you. And the more emotion you give with it, the more it will just feed that information. And then if you keep asking the same things, then we have these wonderful imaginations. And our imaginations can make up rubbish. It just makes up stuff. So, and we'll often go back and beat up an earlier version of ourselves in the form of a question. So we're tapping in right into our unconscious mind, which is the seat of who we are, and we're just destroying ourselves.
Yeah, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, really. We've got this deep core belief, a lot of us, that we are not good enough. So we keep proving that to ourselves by what we're telling ourselves, the story we're making up. And it can be so destructive to our well-being, to who we are as a person. Well, as we should be, we've got such a potential. We have a great potential, but we're holding ourselves back.
Yeah. So there's the three rules with this. So the first one is ask a question that's useful. So if you ask the question, why can I cope? Or why can I handle this? Your unconscious mind goes, well, I'll tell you why you can handle this. And it tells you why you can handle it. Why can you cope? Why have I got this? Why am I loved? Why am I lovable? Why am I worth looking after? Why is it good? So you ask those questions, your unconscious mind will tell you the answers. And you think, well, why can I cope? Well, you can cope because you can. Or what aspect of my past has enabled me to cope? Or why is it my fundamental right to make mistakes? Things like that. And it comes back with the answers for it. So that's the first one. Be very conscious of the questions you ask. And I've got in the book, The Art of Kind and Flowing Relationships, it really explores about how do we create questions within our relationships, both with ourselves and other people, that allow things to shift. It's got some of that in and lots more. So the first one, be very conscious of the questions you ask. The second one is based around the solution. You know, I was saying about we beat ourselves up. There's a really, really simple solution to that. Okay? Everyone to listen really carefully, because I've written it down. Okay? Don't do it. Don't beat yourself up.
Simple.
Just don't do it.
Stop.
Just stop it. Just stop it. Stop beating yourself up. Okay? Because what happens as soon as you make that commitment, you say, I'm going to go back and I'm going to learn and I'm going to do things, but I won't beat myself up. As soon as you say, actually, you know what? This is how I'm going to live. This is my kind set. This is how I'm going to live. Immediately, what you've done is you changed the whole of your future.
Yeah.
No future version is going to come and beat you up because you've made a commitment in there. So you change everything about your future.
Sure.
And I had a 2-year waiting list to work with me, and it was basically on this stuff that I'm sharing now.
Okay.
So don't do it. So rule number 2 is don't beat yourself up. Okay?
Yeah.
And the third rule within the 3 rules, the first rule is be conscious of the questions you ask and ask ones that will serve you. Second one is you're not allowed to beat yourself up. The third rule is if you break rule 1 and 2, then you know stuff happens, get over it. So we will beat ourselves up and we will do the, but as soon as you find yourself doing it, go, okay, did it again. Back on the horse, back on the bike, or back on the pogo stick. I don't really care, but just get back on the, get back on it. And those rules they're really simple. So you have the kind set, is this kind to me? Is this kind to others? Is this kind to the planet? Just run with that, try and get that balance right. And then the 3 rules, conscious of the questions you ask, don't beat yourself up. Third one, if you break rule 1 and 2, then, you know.
Really simple, but really effective.
Yeah,
very effective.
Really well.
Yeah.
And that then builds up our self-esteem really well.
And that's what we need to do, build up that self-esteem, that self-belief, that self-worth, so we can really thrive. So this week, because it's Mental Health Awareness Week, we've got a lot of families who are working with children at the moment and looking at ways that they can bring a lot of kindness into their house. They're trying to manage all their homeschooling and the change and the adversity that they're experiencing. There's a lot of worry and anxiety. So how can we be kind to ourselves as individuals and as a family unit and the wider scale? I know you've got a lovely little game that families could play this week.
Yes, I've got a really nice little game. So the game is basically what you do is you get 3 jars, 3 things that you can see through. So we call it kind jars. So basically what we have, or a kind jam, because if they're jam jars, then take the jam out though. They've got to have no jam.
A bit sticky.
A bit sticky, yeah. I have had people do that before and said, well, take the jam in and out. Or is it what? No. So anyway. So yeah, what you do, and each person has something like a Lego brick that's a certain color, or something that identifies them. And then you just have a go, because we're all imperfect, we're not going to get it right, but have a go. And then each time you're kind to yourself, so with the jars, you label, one's kind to me, one's kind to others, and one is kind to the planet. So each time you're kind to yourself, you have to put one of your tokens in your jar. And if you're kind to others, you put it in the other jar. So, but what you want in amongst the family is you want to have all 3 jars filling up at the same time with all the, and it's just a really fun game to see that actually, you know what, I'm awfully kind to others, but I'm not really. You could even do it if you beat yourself up. You have to take one of the things out of the kind to you. That would be a bit hard, wouldn't it?
A bit harsh, though.
A bit harsh. Yeah. Perhaps that's the advanced level for people that really like things really, for the competitive ones. The other thing I think was really important in kindness is we shouldn't use it as a weapon.
Yeah.
And you see this time and time that people go, well, that's not very kind, is it? and we do this, and it creates this enormous kind of stress on stuff. So kindness isn't a weapon. It's just a game that we've got to try and get right. And the kind say it's a great game, and the jars are a great way. But just don't use it as a weapon.
Sure, no, I love that. I think the whole idea of this game, for me, one of the biggest things I love is building self-awareness, creating that self-awareness. And that is a great way to do that, because we can see if we've been kind to ourselves, we have a visual representation of it. And, you know, the planet, our family, whoever that is that's around us, we've got an awareness. And that's where we have more power to build ourselves up and realize that potential that we've got within us. So I love that, because that's a great way to do that. For this week, I think it's a great activity that could be done as many times during the day, during the whole week, to look back on and just reflect and understand how we can make a bigger difference to ourselves, each other, and the world around us. Love it. Thank you.
And perhaps we can have some photos.
Oh, that would be absolutely wonderful. Send them in. Keep posting them in to us, because that would be great, and I can forward those on to Nick.
Yeah, and then what we can do is we can put them on the 5 Institute website with the kind jars. We can put people's jars and see how we won't put your names down, because you might be a failure. We won't do that. I'm teasing, you won't be. You'll get it right. It's practice. It's just practice. I'm all the time learning, all the time. And from this really anxious teenager into a slightly annoying 60-year-old. Without trying to just get it best.
And I think it's a great example at the moment of all the transition we've all had to go through. Every single person, we're all in this transitional stage of change. And so it's exactly the same with something like the jars, where we have to kind of understand what's happening so we can adjust and make those changes that we know are necessary for us to feel better and to do better. So how can people get a hold of you, Nick, if they want to find out more about what you do? I know you've got some great videos and people can explore so much more about you. You've got your great vitality test, which I've done, and I've just realized it was a long time ago, and I think I should redo mine, which is free to take. It's a free test. So can you just let people know where they can find you if they'd like to know more?
So everything, So with the vitality test, what that does is it basically looks at who you are. And one of the reasons we do that, it gives you a very clear indication of your style, how you show up in the world, the challenges, different things. And one of the reasons we do that is to get over this rather silly idea that we should treat others the way that we want to be treated, which is a kind of really silly idea, because we should treat others the way that they want to be treated, not the way that we want to be treated. So the vitality test kind of is a way to kind of get to know each other. And it's a really nice thing. So the simplest is to go to 5institute.com. So it's www, all those W's, then it's 5 FIVE, and then institute.com. I'm dyslexic, I can't spell institute, and it was a really silly name for a business. But I've eventually learned to spell it, but FIVE institute.com, and you'll find the vitality test there. You'll find a link to the art of kind and flowing relationships. You'll find some stuff on Kindset, and link through to my personal website, where I do my personal stuff, and lots of other stuff. We've got a wonderful community as friends like yourself, and we just support anyone that needs some help.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Have you got a YouTube page as well? Do you have a YouTube? No.
Who knows? By the time people have watched this, it may well have appeared. Who knows?
But the videos can be found on your pages, on your website.
Yeah, we'll have links to the videos. We've got different webinars, and absolutely no doubt there'll be a YouTube channel full of videos by the time.
Giving you an idea now, you see.
Yeah, the future version of me is all over that.
Okay. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a great pleasure to have you here. And just to let people know, the fact people probably don't know is Nick has seen over 50,000 people, is that right? In one-to-one consultations. So he's been around a bit, haven't you?
I have. It was a lot. 50,000. It was over 50,000. I calculated. I thought, my goodness.
Wow, that's incredible.
No wonder I'm so tired.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for joining us to share your insight on kindness, because I think it's a really, really great topic to explore, especially with it being the theme for this Mental Health Awareness Week. Yeah. So thank you, Nick. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And thank you so much for everything you do. I know it makes me feel rest assured for our children's future. So thank you.
You're welcome. Bye for now.